Hey Village, my name is Lauren, and thank you so much for joining us in our daily reflection series through Holy Week. Holy Week is the entire week leading up to Easter Sunday, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we're unable to celebrate Easter season in the way that we normally would. And these daily devotions are meant to encourage you and help you meaningfully celebrate Easter during this week. And each day we're looking at one of the events that happened as Jesus moved towards the cross. So today, Wednesday, we're going to be reading Matthew 26, 6 through 16. So I'm going to be reading from the Message version, but please feel free to open your app and open your Bible and take a look at Matthew 26, 6 through 16 with me. So verse 6 starts, "When Jesus was at Bethany, a guest of Simon the leper, a woman came up to him as he was eating dinner and anointed him with a bottle of very expensive perfume. When the disciples saw what was happening, they were furious. 'That's criminal. This could have been sold for a lot and the money handed out to the poor.' When Jesus realized what was going on, he intervened. 'Why are you giving this woman a hard time? She has just done something wonderfully significant for me. You'll have the poor with you every day for the rest of your lives, but not me. When she poured this perfume on my body, what she really did was anoint me for burial. You can be sure that wherever in the whole world the message is preached, what she has just done is going to be remembered and admired.' That is when one of the 12, the one named Judas Iscariot, went to the cabal of high priests and said, 'Will you give me if I hand him over to you?' They settled on 30 silver pieces. He began looking for just the right moment to hand him over." So just days before he was betrayed, beaten, mocked, and hung on a cross, Jesus gathered with his closest friends at a dinner party. And this woman, who remains unidentified in the passage, came up to him while he's eating dinner and anointed him with a bottle of very expensive perfume. And so the first thing that strikes me when I'm reading this passage is the feeling of fury from the disciples. And I get it, right? Like every time my 2-year-old son reaches up on my dresser for like some kind of product, like my heart skips a beat. If he dumped an entire bottle of my latest Sephora purchase on my dresser, I would be furious too. The ladies who are watching get what I mean. But after that initial impression, I'm also struck by the gender and power dynamics in the room. This woman approaches Jesus during dinner and anoints his head with perfume. This woman is acting out of a deep admiration for and overwhelming devotion to Jesus as the Son of God. And in doing so, really defies social norms. She enters a room that is overwhelmingly, if not completely full of men, and approaches Jesus. And I find it hard to fathom that as a woman, she wouldn't be fully aware of the power and gender dynamics at play. Because as a woman, I'm aware of them just reading this passage. I mean, just talking about it now, I can think of that feeling when I've hovered on the edge of a meeting room or before an elevator, just outside a circle of colleagues, talking, or like the threshold of a living room and hesitating just for a moment before I enter a predominantly male space. And so I can only imagine that she must have had a similar moment of hesitation before carrying the perfume over to Jesus with just her eyes fixed on him. And we don't know her intentions from this passage, but the spontaneous act of extravagance that is really flying in the face of social norms is certainly done out of just a deep love for and devotion to Jesus. And as a result, the disciples' conventional attitudes are, and not for the first time, challenged by just a radical display of love for Jesus. And when Jesus realizes how the disciples are reacting, he intervenes. And in verses 10 through 13, he says, "Why are you giving this woman a hard time? She has just done something wonderfully significant for me. You will have the poor with you every day for the rest of your lives, but not me. When she poured this perfume on my body, what she really did was anoint me for burial. You can be sure that wherever in the whole world the message is preached, what she's just done is going to be remembered and admired." And this is the first and only time Jesus spoke of being anointed for burial. He's foreshadowing that his death is imminent, right? The tension is building. This is a really powerful moment in which this woman, in her act of profound devotion, is affirming the value of his death. She anoints him for burial, and she's giving him the honor, the dignity, and the love that he will not get on Friday when he is beaten, mocked, and hung on a cross. And as a result of her action, Jesus proclaims that wherever in the whole world the message is preached, what she has just done is going to be remembered and admired. And the woman in this passage remains unnamed. This is an indication that what this woman did is more important than who she is. And I think it's so beautiful that just as Jesus declared, we are still discussing her actions today. And the woman in this passage, in her extravagant, uninhibited devotion to Jesus in the days leading up for the cross, communicates just the boundless, immeasurable value of his death. As a result, I think this passage so clearly illustrates that Jesus is incredibly, deeply, exceptionally worthy of our lives and our praise. As we approach the middle of Holy Week, I hope this passage encourages you to reflect on the value of Jesus' death and, in response, prompts you to praise and worship him. One of the ways we can do that is through prayer, especially during this time of social distancing. We can worship him by loving and encouraging our neighbors through prayer. Our prayers can be a blessing and an act of love as we take the posture of this woman anointing Jesus' head with expensive perfume. And so I encourage you to set aside time to pray for someone who could use some encouragement. Call them, text them, set up a FaceTime date. Ask if there's something specific that you can pray for. While you're on the phone with them, offer to pray for them out loud, right then and there. While this is a step of faith, and it can be intimidating or uncomfortable, it will be an encouragement to the person on the other end and will likely bolster your own faith. Take heart that the woman who anointed Jesus likely felt a similar feeling of discomfort, and yet still she faithfully and sacrificially worshiped him. If you don't have the opportunity to pray with them out loud, let them know that you're praying for them. If you're anything like me, if it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen. So it can be helpful to write down their name in your calendar as a prompt to remind you to pray for them during the week. I love you guys, and I look forward to celebrating with you on Sunday.